Okay, so here's the map of Ingrian dialects. Well, in the right upper corner there is St. Petersburg, and in the lower left corner there is Narva, which is already an Estonian border. And there used to be 4 dialects, and now only 2 still exist. It's Soikola dialect, which is there in the middle one, and the Lower Luga dialect, which is 4. And so this Lower Luga dialect is the one I'm going to speak about. So you see it's right at the Estonian border. And it has been influenced from closely related languages, so it has the most innovative phonological system of all the Ingrian dialects. And among other things, this system is characterized by a very high level of vowel reduction in the non-initial syllables. And this reduction is especially salient in the southern varieties of this dialect. And I have described this system in detail in my article, and my description was based on spoken language, on my own recordings. And then I obtained 2 manuscripts that were written by 2 speakers of these southern varieties. So I thought it's interesting to test my scientific description based on spoken language against the material of these manuscripts. And Ingrian doesn't have any standardized written variant, so the speakers invented the orthographies by themselves for their native idiolects, and like wrote the text like they thought they can write it. I'm going to check how the speaker's depiction of this vowel reduction in the non-initial syllables corresponds to my own description. So there are, now first I'm going to introduce these speakers and the manuscripts. One is a man, Nikolai Dmitrievich Pydor. He was born in a village that was so it was for 20 years it was a part of Estonia. So he attended a school in Estonian, and he speaks fluent Estonian. He also speaks some Finnish. His orthography is Cyrillic based, but for these umlaut vowels, a, ö, ü, he consistently uses like he calls themselves Estonian letters. And he has written down occasionally Ingrian words, phrases and texts since 90s, and he still continues sometimes his notes. And he, in general, has a very strong interest towards languages. So he even read some scientific linguistic literature on languages. This is Nikolai Dmitrievich. I don't know, it's not seen very well. Okay, with his wife, who is also Ingrian, and she has recently passed away. And maybe it's not seen very well here. He doesn't have his left arm. He lost during the war. So now here are some examples of his manuscripts. Well, in this left side part, it's very interesting that he put a text in Ingrian the way like we do glossing, because he put one string in Ingrian, and he wrote under each word he wrote correspondences in Russian. And in this right sheet, he compared words from Ingrian, Finnish, Estonian, and Russian. So first it's Ingrian words, he put Ingrian words, then he put Finnish words. Well, he used Cyrillics even for Finnish and Estonian, though he can actually write in Latin letters, but he put it in Cyrillics. Finnish, Estonian, and the last one is Russian. And there are several, like here, for example, as well, several comparings like this. Here, in this right sheet, he took a text from a linguistic book by Paul Ariste, who wrote texts in Votic. Votic is a very closely related language to Ingrian. And he put word by word, well, from up to down, those Votic words, and then he put Ingrian words, and then he put Estonian words, and then Russian words. So you see, he's very interested in all these comparisons and things like this. And then another speaker is Taisia Romanovna Kharitonova, who is from another village, village of Keikino or Haviko in Ingrian. She now lives in another village that is quite close to her original village. And her orthography is also Cyrillic based, but she also sometimes uses for umlaut vowels graphemes and then this strange ü. But not consistently. Nikolai Dmitrich uses quite consistently, and she sometimes writes, like in Russian, she uses letters ya, yo, you, and sometimes she uses these Latin letters. And she has started her notes in the 20s for her granddaughter who is interested in Ingrian and who attends also courses by Mehmet Muslimov, who is there, who teaches Ingrian. So her grandmother started writing down words and phrases in Ingrian for her. And I myself have never personally met her, but I've listened to her recorded speech. So, well, also it's not seen very well, but that's how it looks like. It's like vocabulary. On one side there are Ingrian words, and on the other side there are Russian words. She has two like notebooks like this, and here, well, it's also not seen, but there in the right upper corner she has, for example, a poem in Russian, Koshkin Dom, and she translated it in Ingrian. I don't know, I suppose she translated by herself but I don't know when did she take it. So now I'm going to present some aspects of my scientific description of the vowel reduction. First, this reduction led to complete shortening of all the initial long non-initial vowels. So now they are realized just as full short vowels, like in Suti. And there are half-long vowel allophones, but they are found only in one position in the non-initial syllables after the short vowel of the first syllable in an open syllable. So it's like tuli. The second one is a bit longer. But they are, if you take them diachronically, they are the reflexes of short vowels. And phonologically, it's also, there are grounds to consider them as short vowels. Then, if we take the reduction of the original short vowels, then here the rules are quite complicated and based on foot metrics, as Ingrian is a foot language, foot counting language. So under a secondary stress, non-initial vowels are not reduced. So for example, in Lisa Humine, I in mine is under a secondary stress and it is not reduced in any way. Then in positions without a secondary stress, there are two types of positions. In one positions, vowels are just reduced. And in other positions, vowels are not only reduced, but they can elide in rapid speech, and also they quite often are realized as reduced voiceless vowels. Then, for both of these stable and unstable positions, there are two degrees of vowel reduction. I'm going to discuss it a bit further, but now I will say that type B reduction is stronger than type A reduction. Then if we take groups of vowels and diphthongs, the degree of reduction is different for different groups of them. So there is a hierarchy from the most to the least affected by the reduction. The vowels and diphthongs of the first group are the most affected, and the vowels and diphthongs of the third group are the least affected. So group 1 always loses its quality, becomes a schwa vowel under both types of reduction, type A and type B. Then if we take group 3, then it can totally lose its quality and become schwa only under this type B reduction. And under type A reduction, these vowels generally retain their quality. And this A that forms an intermediate group is just in between. It's not like, in sometimes it becomes schwa, sometimes not, so it's really in between these two groups. Now here there is like the metrics of the processes of reduction found in the non-initial syllables. Here you can see type A and type B reduction, and vertically there are these two types of positions. So in stable positions there is reduction only, and in the unstable positions there is reductions and elision of vowels. So like if you take first A, this A vowel here represents the first group of vowels, it becomes schwa, and O vowel represents the third group of vowels that retains its quality. So for example, lammas, lammas became lammas, but aukod remained aukod. Then if we take type B, in these positions vowels cannot elide, but even this third group of vowels can become schwa. So piirakoja became piirkoit, and kaivottuja became kaivottuit. And then if we take unstable positions, then here you can see elision and voicelessness of vowels under type A reduction. First group of vowels elide becomes schwa and elides, and the third group of vowels, it becomes voiceless, but it does not become schwa. And under type B reduction, this third group of vowels, like O, it can also become schwa and then finally elide in speech. So it's like 4 main types of processes that I distinguish in my scientific description. Now I'm going to discuss how these things are reflected in the manuscripts. First, I found no examples of long non-initial vowels written by the speakers, except for one toponymic root, that is the name of the river Luga. But there are strong grounds to believe that Nikolai Dmitrievich actually copied, in this case it copied such orthography from a scientific book, because first there were like it was written in Cyrillics, but he also wrote it in Latin letters at the same place, though he practically never writes in Latin letters. And then also this lauka, such a form is found in the scientific literature, but it's actually not how it is pronounced in these Ingrian varieties. It's pronounced totally a different way, lavvas. So I think he really took it from a book. And in Taisia Romanovna's text, I found it with a short vowel. Then in initial syllables where long vowels are preserved, they are also depicted by the speakers. And Nikolai Dmitrievich writes them almost consistently, though there were some wrong examples, but mainly he is quite consistent. Taisia Romanovna is less consistent, and there are also examples of where she puts short vowel instead of a long one, like in Saski, where it's long actually. She wrote a short one. And then there are also reverse examples where she puts long vowel instead of a short one. But still, I mean, they do depict long vowels somehow in the initial syllables and don't depict them at all in the non-initial syllables. And then as for these half-long allophones in the non-initial syllables, they also always write them as short vowels. I found, oh, what's happened? Okay. What happened?
Just pressed the wrong button.
No, I don't press anything.
No, you touch upon it and actually it's
Then, if we take the position under a secondary stress, then there were no signs of reduction in the manuscripts either. So they always wrote full vowels there, like pikkaraine or kyntemine. Then, if we take other positions, in case of schwa, where they pronounce schwa, Nikolai Dmitrievich writes quite consistently in the place of schwa, like lamız or medsist. And Taisia Romanovna, she never writes but in many cases she, like, if we take the etymological form, she like confuses etymological vowels. So she puts one vowel instead of another one that was there originally, like saattoka, where it is instead of saattaka. But actually schwa is pronounced there, so it indicates, such orthography indicates that actually there is some reduction there. Then as for this third group of vowels, that is the least affected by reduction, the authors don't specifically mark the voicelessness of vowels. They just write them exactly the same way as full modal vowels. For example, in rist, they wrote E, normal E. And that's also to the question of the udarение that was discussed in Elena Vsevolodovna's talk, that when I asked them, I gave a minimal pair where there was in one word like kukko. There was a difference only in this reduced vowel or non-reduced vowel. And I asked him to formulate the difference. He also was speaking about udarение. So they always speak about udarение when they can't formulate a difference. What's happening? Okay.
It's working by itself.
Yeah, I mean, it works by itself, obviously. And so Taisia Romanovna, she sometimes also like confused these etymological vowels. In these cases, she wrote maitu instead of maito, and also there were several cases like this. But they did not, obviously, they were not aware that these vowels were voiceless or even that they were reduced. Then these are the cases where in speech the elision of vowels happens. In the case of schwa, there are many cases of orthographical loss of vowel in the manuscripts. And in Nikolai Dmitrievich's text, this elision occurs consistently only in the unstable position, so only in cases where this vowel can actually elide in speech. But Taisia Romanovna, interestingly, also doesn't perceive any vowel at all, also in the stable positions, where the vowel is actually phonetically present due to phonotactic and speech production restrictions, like turvas, so she wrote turvs, or this is haikutlo, so you can't even pronounce it without any vowel, the last word. But she wrote, she didn't perceive a vowel there. And you can see there are also cases where she writes a vowel, like turvas, or then there are cases where she doesn't write a vowel in the same word, like turvus. Then as for the other vowels, the orthographical loss of them occurs quite rarely, actually. Even rarer than they are. What happens with this computer, Elena? I don't know. It just works by itself. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's strange. but okay. Okay, and then yeah, so in Nikolai Dmitrievich's text, these examples of vowel loss of this third group of vowels, they occurred only almost only in the context of type B reduction. So in cases where these vowels actually became schwa in speech, like napris or ens mai sexy. And in Taisia Romanov's text, there is again less consistency. So these cases of the loss of these vowels are quite rare, but still they occurred under all types of reduction in her text. In those cases where they can elide in speech, in those cases where they can't elide, and even in those cases, also in cases where they can't become schwa in speech. These, as it became maybe clear already from the previous discussion, these three groups of vowels that I distinguished in my description, they also can be quite clearly distinguished on the basis of these manuscripts. The schwa reflexes of the first group of vowels are mostly absent from the text, especially in the unstable positions in word finally. And the reflexes of this third group that is least affected by reduction are mostly present in the text. And also in the manuscripts, it also forms an intermediate group by the frequency of omission and by the frequency of its qualitative reduction, which is written by Nikolai Dmitrievich as U. If we take this first group of vowels, if we take schwa, then generally it is less often depicted by the speakers than it is really attested in the speech. So I had an impression that when vowels turn into schwa, then speakers just stop being aware of their existence, especially in those positions where they can be elided in speech. In those positions where this schwa is preserved in speech, speakers also write it more frequently than in other positions, but not always. And on the contrary, if we take this third group of vowels, it actually undergoes stronger reduction in speech than it is indicated from the text. So frequent speech elision and voiceless reduced character of these vowels can be hardly traced from the manuscripts. As for this group of vowels, I had an impression that as long as vowels more or less retain their quality, speakers are barely aware of their reduction and their voiceless character. And the general conclusion for this is that my description conducted on the basis of the spoken Ingrian quite well predicted and explained the vowel reduction phenomena found in these folk manuscripts. The complete shortening of non-initial long vowels, then the positions, different kinds of positions of vowel reduction, the positions of vowel elision, and then the varying degree of affection of different vowel groups by the reduction. And generally, Nikolai Dmitrievich's texts are more consistent in depicting vowel reduction phenomena than Taisia Romanovna's text. Maybe it's due to this kind of interest towards languages that he has, so I don't know, that he's more consistent in his orthography. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. We have 6 minutes for questions or comments. Any questions? Olga.
Well, I wonder, the writing system created in the 30s, was it based on another dialect?
Well, first, it was based more on Soikolo dialect, on another dialect. And then it was actually, it was created, but it was actually never used. There were some textbooks. Yeah, it was created. It existed for some time, but then it was abolished in the end of 30s. I mean, it was used in the textbooks for some time at school. No, at school, yeah, for several years it was used at school. Yeah, it's true, and it was actually Latin-based. It was not Cyrillic-based. Well, yeah, I mean, I was speaking about the present situation. That
I see, but it would be interesting to compare.
And these, yeah.
But are those dialects quite near to each other?
No. This Lower Luga Ingrian was influenced by Votic, Ingrian Finnish, and Estonian. It's really quite different from all other three dialects. And then these informants, there are some informants who attended school in 30s who were taught by these textbooks, and they were taught some orthography, but not these informants. As I said, Nikolai Dmitrievich attended school in Estonian, when it was part of Estonia, and Taisia Romanovna attended only a school in Russian, so they never learned this orthography. So yeah, it couldn't influence their systems. I mean, yeah, but generally, yeah, in 30s there was for
approach to the vowels in that documents. I mean, that writing system.
There is no such reduction in Soikolo dialect.
Up to now?
Yes, I mean no schwa vowels, no. It's kind of it has much more conservative phonology than this Lower Luga Ingrian, so it's quite different.
So it's a strange thing, absolutely without any reduction.
No, now in recent years, maybe like recent 20 years, so under the influence of Russian, under this process of language attrition, I mean, if you compare recordings, present-day recordings with recordings made in 60s, yes, there is more reduction of vowels in the non-initial syllables than in these older recordings, but still not up to this point. There are no voiceless vowels, nothing like this in Soikolo Ingrian.
More questions? Comments? Thank you, Natasha.